everyone. It's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we are bringing a special guest. This man I've been looking forward to all week. This is a powerhouse speaker, one of the highest in demand influencers and speakers on workplace culture in North America. He combines real-life CEO experience with candid stories about resilience and team building, and he is speaking globally. Having spent decades at the helm of multi-generational organizations, he understands the challenges of rolling out teams in a dynamic and changing marketplace. So he's successful himself. He's taught others how to bootstrap their CEO business and bootstrap their business. And now he's here on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. And we have him as a special guest, and I can't hold this phenomenal speaker. His name is Jim Tracy. You have heard of him, and if you haven't heard of him, you're going to get to know him today. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible Mr. Jim Tracy, the grand poobah of business.
Wow, Marcus, what a welcome. I'm wondering who you're talking about, bro.
You, sir, you are doing it. Your resume is extensive, sir.
Yeah,
you
thank you.
are amazing.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you for being here and giving back in this way. So I want to start with this curveball question. I want to start with something simple. Your life, you have an incredible mind, and you could do literally anything that you set your mind to. And you have taken the kind of path that is unorthodox and not necessarily traditional. But I want to ask about family, because someone with your resume had to have had some family influences in your life to create the life and build the life and be as successful as you are. So I want to ask, how has your family influenced your career decisions growing up and coming up in the world? Because I think there's not enough talk about family in relation to business success.
Exactly. And I have been blessed, frankly, to be part of a family business. That's where my wife and my son and my daughter and a lot of the kids have worked for us. But I would take that back. I've been married for 45 years, and my wife has had the single biggest influence on me. And even before that, her dad, I was a welder, man. And I told this fella that I wanted to marry his daughter, and he said, "Okay, where are you going to college?" And I'm like, "Wherever you want, sir. If that's the price of entry, I'm all in." So it was a big part of raising the expectations that I had of myself, because they kind of had high expectations for me. And when you have that kind of familial peer pressure, I wasn't getting it from my side of the family nearly as much. But my dad was a high achiever. My mom raised 8 kids, 7 of them boys, and so she was always my biggest cheerleader. And when people are for you, man, you can go places. So that's a family gig. And from there, I got 16, coming up on 16 grandkids, 5 kids, and one of them named me the Grampian. That's where that whole thing comes from. I'm not narcissistic enough to say I am the Grampian. Somebody else named me, but I liked it. I'll keep it, man. Someone puts a handle on you, you grab a hold of it, right?
That's true. That's true. And it's stuck, and it works for you. You look good, brother. You look good.
Thanks. 66 years old in May. And I look around, Marcus, I see people retiring that are my age, and they go for about 2 years and then they kick over dead. And I'm like, that's not part of my gig. I need to keep rolling, keep running, man.
It's not your plan. It's not your plan. It's not your time, and it's not your plan. So
exactly.
So there's super, super powerful, and there's more for you to do. And you're right. There's a lot of people much older that they're done, right? They kind of throw in the towel, but you refuse to let that happen. And you talked about something that I wanted to kind of stay right here for 1 second. You talked about you were in the trades when you were asking your wife's father for her hand in marriage, and you wanted to date her, but you were in the trades. And so that's something I want to talk about. Why a trade versus college and running yourself into debt? And maybe I shouldn't have said that, but why a trade?
No, that's cool. I think that times have changed, and I can tell you that I was throughout high school. I didn't get the world's worst student out of the class of 365 kids, but I was like, I might have got second place. I wasn't a very good student. I didn't like school. I didn't enjoy school. I got out of high school and junior high having never taken algebra or geometry or any of that because of a altercation that I had with a teacher. And and so when I got to college, it's a cool story. My wife tutored me through algebra. My very first class in college. It was, matter of fact, the first fight that we ever had.
Over algebra?
Oh man, over algebra. I still maintain they should not turn letters into numbers. It's confusing for people with compressed minds. So, but I was slinging drinks. I was pouring drinks at night at the VFW for a job, and so I worked nights at the VFW, and then I had this class that was 4 hours long, algebra, to take during a compressed little thing they called interim, and my wife was having trouble staying with me on it, so she came to class with me one day, and then she saw me fall asleep in class, and that was our first fight.
That'll do it. That'll do it. That'll push anyone over the edge, especially when you work so hard. College is hard.
Yeah,
is not easy, and it's not something that I think people take it too lightly. Like, oh, I'll just go into college. Well, are you really ready? Do you really want to? Right? Make sure. What trade were you in, brother? What specific trade?
So I was in the electrical union, and I was a welder. And so I would go out into substations, and I would weld aluminum and stainless steel, and into power plants and places where other people, would have kind of difficulty operating, especially with aluminum, because when you're doing high voltage work, perfect is the standard because they X-ray, a certain percentage of welds, and a lot of it's tested. And I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people have, you weld and two pieces of metal stick together, big deal. Well, mine's carrying 500,000 volts. So it is a big deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was in the Navy. So first off, shout out to VFW. Thank you for all our veterans. We appreciate you guys and serving. And so that experience alone is tremendous, being around the VFW of veterans. But then also, secondly, welders. I watched welders perform hot work in some of the most ridiculous tight spaces you could ever imagine. And it's so dangerous. People don't give them enough credit. It's so dangerous because if the ventilation isn't right, if the hot work is too hot, or you're welding almost upside down in some cases, right? Upside down. And now that you added that other caveat that I'm welding something that is supposed to conduct electricity at a very high rate. And that means all the breakers need to be shut off. Someone needs to second check, third check these breakers to make sure there's no power in this line that I'm welding together. And so there's a uniqueness, and it's not enough credit given to that trade or most trades, but welding is a serious skill. Yeah. And you could travel the world. I knew many gentlemen who traveled the world just on their welding skills. So shout out to the wife, shout out to the missus. And then shout out to welders. You guys are absolutely necessary and absolutely powerful. What is one personal sacrifice that you've made for your career that still stands the test of time and has shaped you into the man you are today?
Wow. I would say that if I look back, and I've been really blessed to have a couple of careers, but in each of those, I've had pretty significant travel. And I think the biggest sacrifice that I've experienced is the time away from my family on the road that was in many ways required, not just of the position I held, but by the standard that was set in terms of crafting an opportunity for the entire company to be successful. Absolutely. So I would say travel, number one, kind of easy.
Percentage wise, how much did you travel? Like 100%, 80% of the time, 90% of the time away from family?
Well, in my first real, what I would consider my first real long-term career, was manufacturing engineered wood products, and I would leave a lot of times on Sunday night or very, very early before the kids get up on Monday morning, and I would be on the road, and I would be back Friday night, sometimes Saturday, or sometimes gone in 2 and 3 week sets to places like Japan and Korea. I worked the Pacific Rim a bit, and so, but when you have manufacturing in different places, you get to go visit them, make sure everything's going well.
Absolutely. And so I need your help speaking to the young men, right? In this second, how did you able to sustain your home and support your home? What did you was it did you have dedicated time for the family when you were home? Hey, Mr. Tracy is home and I'm dedicating quality time with the family. How did you make that work in your marriage? Speaking to the young men who watching this and can see this, can take a tip and learn from it.
Yeah, that's an amazingly difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
However, it comes in parts. Number one, you have to, and for me on a personal level, you have to ask who you're going to serve. And I have to serve my Lord first, and my family second, and my country third. And I mean, as far as serving yourself, you put yourself after all that. I hear these days all about why you need to take care of yourself. You're going to take care of anybody else. Well, actually, I think you got to keep your priorities straight. And if you're walking a line with the moral compass that you should follow, and mine is a real strong Christianity. If you follow that compass, you're going to stay out of trouble. And then if you put your wife after that, that's going to keep you out of another kind of trouble. And then if you focus on your kids, that's going to keep you out of trouble. I had a great job. I had an amazingly terrific job in that engineered wood. But at one point I was flying. I flew from Seattle. I visited Phoenix, Salt Lake, Denver, and DC in 1 week. And I was on my way from DC. I was back over the top of Chicago heading for San Francisco so I could head to Tokyo. And it was a Friday. And I looked down, I saw the lights of Chicago, and I looked at my watch and I thought, I'm missing my daughter's swim meet. I quit. And at that exact moment, looking on down in the lights of Chicago, I said, you know what? There's got to be something more than this. I quit my job right there. Now, that was in November, and I told him in December, and then I left at the end of January. So I quit well, but I quit and I dedicated. And so after that, I took 45 days from January to April, and I took my kids skiing for 45 days. So, I've always heard that you're really important at your job, and that's true. You are important at your job. But if you die today, the help wanted ad is going to hit before your obituary, man. So keep your focus.
So true. So true. One more for Mr. Jim Tracy, my hero.
All right.
On the Gentleman Style Podcast. That's huge, sir. I want to touch on this last piece. You entered the trade. You dedicated. You prioritized your life in such a way to ensure that your relationship with God, your relationship with your family stayed intact before everything else, and you sacrificed throughout that entire time. And the heart of this man, you all, I hope you guys are hearing it. What's one piece of advice, looking back on your incredible life, what's one piece of advice you wish you had received or someone had spoken into you because you mentored? And so what's one thing you wish someone had told you early on in life?
Wow. When I was a kid, from the time literally I got engaged till I was 30, my only goal, probably till 28, I guess, my only goal was to make a six-figure income. And all of my energies were poured in and fixated on how much I could make so that I could be a good provider, so that I could be, quote, successful. And when you laser beam focus that much, you sacrifice the wrong things. It's okay to sacrifice yourself. That's a willing choice. But it's not okay to sacrifice the time with your wife or your children without their consent. And especially when they're little, it's really important, especially these days, to have a role model who can show you what's important to them, so you can know what should be important to you. You can accept and reject it, but if I teach my kids to be a good father or a good mother, I'm a success.
Absolutely. You win through others. You win
Yeah.
through your good works. That's what it is. That's
Heck
all I'm looking
yeah.
for. Your
There you
good
go.
works. He's
There you
speaking to
go.
something, y'all, that several years ago hit me, right? Same thing. And I think the entrepreneurial path is overhyped, and it's over, you see the entrepreneurs, right? And their $1 million cars and their Corvettes and their Lamborghinis and the travel and all of that. But what you forget, or what I came to realize a couple of years ago, is what happens when I'm gone. That stuff means nothing, right? All the stuff means nothing. What is it people remember you for? What is it? And it's family, it's your children, and it's your good works. That's
Mhm.
that's what continues on. None of the cars, none of the houses, none of that. It's what carries on after you're here. What do you want when they write about you or they put on your headstone? What are they going to say? And if you're not happy with what you think they're going to say, then change. And that's what
Yeah.
Mr. Tracy is living every single day. And that's what
Yeah.
he's speaking to.
After that corporate gig, we started a business. My son and I started a business called Legacy. And there's a reason it was named that. We wanted to leave the legacy that we knew we should, and then we knew we could. And that's one of, and it doesn't. I'm not saying forsake hard work. Hard work is really, really important, and it's part of what we have to do to put bread on the table and take care of our fam. But also, we have to show our children and our grandchildren what's important, and then we get to mentor. Like in our case, we started with 2 employees, we ended up with over a couple of hundred, and we had to teach these people one step at a time. A lot of them come from households that don't have a father figure, and so in many ways we were blessed and encumbered at the same time to be a father figure to people who we had different backgrounds, and we had different opportunities. But boy, we got to invest in these young men, which is kind of another reason why that book is coming out. It's called Building Men. That's the reason I wrote it. It's a lesson that I learned, or character lessons that I learned from people who super influenced my life.
Powerful. Powerful. I wanted to add your legacy that you started with your son. Is that your nonprofit? Or
No,
is
that is Legacy Telecommunications, and
okay.
we ran that business for 23 years and sold it into a private equity model with some other companies and some other gentlemen. And now I'm finished with all my obligations there, and now I'm taking that show on the road, if you will, and talking about investing into young men, especially cross generationally. There's a real need. We forgot that grandpas get to talk to grandkids, and they don't have to not get along because they're different generations. My grandpa was born in 1903. My youngest grandchild. Well, I've got 2 new grandbabies that are still in the womb. So there's 122 years of history, man. And I get along with every generation.
That's incredible. That is powerful, right? Talk about legacy, y'all. Talk about legacy. Listen to that. So that's so the average person lives, let's say 100 years. That's 100 years plus each grandchild that
Mm-hmm.
continues on, and he's able. Most people don't get to do that. He's able to influence that whole lineage in because he's still in contact. He gets to travel with them. He gets to enjoy them, and now in his later years, he gets to give back to them and pour back into them. So
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to miss that. That is powerful. And so thank you. So you would share with your younger self that give back. Is that what I'm hearing? You would
Oh yeah.
you would tell your younger self, don't forget to give back.
Yeah. And, there's another part of that. Um, a lot of times, because of our background, because of our life experiences, we tend to draw in rather than to push out. And when we push out all of our energy and all of ourselves to do the right thing, our life gets bigger. and and if I could encourage anybody out there, it's like, have a big. I get accused sometimes of having a ridiculously big life, but man, it's a lot of fun too, and I get to share it with some really cool people. I talk about the guy who trained me to fly, and he's way older than I am. I hope he's listening. But he's way older than I am. So here is a guy in the twilight of his career at best, and a former F-16 pilot, and he's teaching me how to fly. So he's got 22 years in the military and 27 years at Delta Airlines, and he's now teaching me to fly. Now that's a big life. That's a guy who doesn't. There ain't no quit in him. And then he brings his wife halfway across the country to do it with him. So there's a lot of lessons packed in that little example.
I love that, and I want to talk about that because it was one of the most unique things in your bio. You guys, and his bio is extensive, right? So one of the most powerful things is that you are a jet pilot, and so I hope I can do twice as much when I aspire to your age. But that is incredible, and I wanted to ask, what is some leadership things that I know you have them. Why do you do it, right? And what have you learned from flying high performance jets? That's unique in all get out.
Yeah, well, I guess I got to take it back. I started really late, and I had an experience, and I reference it in the book too. When I was a little kid, that put a little seed in me about flying, and then when I was 47, I was back, and I was with my dad, and we looked up in the sky. I was back in South Dakota. We looked up in the sky. There was a little airplane up there. I said, "Hey, Dad, when's the last time you were ever on a little airplane like that?" And he goes, "Oh man, that was a long time ago. It was with your grandpa." And we looked at all of the old farms and all the old hunting places and all the haunts we used to go to. And I'd give anything to do that again. Well, that was in April. I took my first lesson in May, and then I took him flying in October. That served him. He was in his mid 80s, and he enjoyed the ride. And then from there, I realized that my grandkids, four of my oldest grandsons, were about 5 hours away by truck, but they were about an hour away by aircraft. And so we got a private airplane, and I started helping. And my wife would really like that because instead of doing 10 hours worth of travel, you do two. But we flew over to little town in Eastern Washington, and it served our business, it served our customers, but it also served our family. After we relocated to Boise, Idaho, I was flying to Spokane and Seattle and Bozeman, Montana, and Denver, and someplace down in Texas. I had to be in these places like once a month. And COVID hit, and I was flying in a little aircraft, and I was over the River of No Return wilderness area.
Whoa!
And I looked out at that little single engine on the front, and I thought, if this is the River of No Return, that's going to be true. I looked down. There's no place to land down there, man. I'm going to make it a prophecy.
Oh my gosh!
I got home and I told my wife about that. And she said the word every pilot longs to hear. She said, "I think you need a twin engine."
There you go. She signed off on it.
Oh yeah, she signed off, and especially during COVID with the travel requirements I had, not doing TSA, not having to worry about infecting other people or masking up or any of that stuff. I just flew where I was going to fly, and I got into smaller airports. It saved so much time, and it really worked to serve a lot of people. And especially like we do some mercy flights with patients who need private aviation, and that has been incredibly rewarding. And yeah, so flying has become a bit of more about an identity a bit. And because even my grandkids are like, hey, what is grandpa? Well, he's grandpa, but he's also a pilot. That comes comes into their vernacular pretty quickly.
That is so powerful. And when you shared that experience about flying over the point of no return, what comes to mind for me is fear.
Yeah.
And so, how do you face your fear when flying a high performance aircraft? What do you do? How do you cope and manage in that environment, right? Because I know we can laugh about it today, but how did you face your fear and overcome that realization? Nothing happened, but
Yeah.
what if something did? How did you face that fear and realize that?
I think the biggest thing, especially in aviation, um, it's really easy to fly. It's super easy to fly until something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong, your training must automatically kick in without thinking, especially without thinking a great deal, because the human element is going to counter all of your training. So you have to train so much that you draw the human element to less. And so, one example I always use is pair. PARE. And when you get yourself in a position where the aircraft is in an unusual attitude or out of control or in a spin or something like that, you need to pair power, aileron, rudder, and elevator. And it has to pop into your mind just like that. Power, am I going too fast? Pull the power. Am I going too slow? Add power. So there's power. Aileron, I need to tip it so my wings are like level with the horizon. And then rudder, I need to make sure that I'm twisted the right way in the aircraft. And then elevator, I need to pull the wings up level with the horizon. And if you can do those four things in that order, then you're going to face that trouble with knowledge and the application of knowledge, which is wisdom. And if you train enough on it, then you do it without thinking.
Powerful. So thank you for that. You're training your mind. How do you
Mhm.
train physically for fighting it? Because it's no easy taking that. I watch. Anybody can watch the videos, right? You
Yeah.
jet fighter pilots, you experience a lot of G force sometimes when you're flying or doing specific maneuvers. You can suscept your body to that. So how do you
Yes.
prepare physically and manage your physical when with flying challenges?
Number one, you're never too old to work out. And if you're too old to work out, that's not too late to start. So
Mm.
you need to do some cardio. You need to lift heavy things. I work out with a local guy on some Krav Maga, who I'm just starting some. On Thursday, I'm doing a private lesson with him. Bo DeRocher, Mr. D, hats off to you, bro. Anyway, so you need to make sure that you're physically capable of movement, especially when you're, in your mid 60s. You need to be able to get around that old body a little bit. And so I walk 10,000 steps every day, and I do a separate 45-minute workout every day. And those two things keep you in relatively good shape. And then you have to add to that. What you add to that is training. And the training is as part of learning to fly a jet, you go in an aerobatic aircraft and you actually pull the G's so that you know what it feels like. And when you know what it feels like, then you know how to counteract it. And so, again, I would say it really all falls back to training. If you train yourself to respond, and so if you're undergoing positive G's, you learn to crunch, and a crunch starts at your kneecaps and it goes to your neck, and you crunch down to keep the blood from flowing all the way down into your legs in a positive G environment. And especially in your abdomen, it's really, you really got to crunch. And so you teach yourself that if you find yourself in going into a G position, that you crunch and then pair. So do those kind of things, and you'll be doing fine.
Stay active, y'all. Stay active.
Yeah.
Right? That's powerful, powerful, powerful. Have you ever faced any criticism? And I think I know the answer to this, but have you ever faced any criticism for taking on such a risky endeavor as being a jet fighter pilot?
Well, I'm not a fighter pilot.
Well, not a fighter pilot. Forgive me.
I'm going to do that shortly. I've got an arrangement to go do some training.
Really?
Training in an L-39, which is a Czechoslovakian fighter jet trainer, and I'm going to go do that. I'm super excited about it. So yeah, don't slow down. But anytime you do something, you're going to find critics. You're always I could say I'm going to go grab a toothpick and try and get a piece of jerky out of my teeth, and I would find someone to say, well, you should actually go get a piece of dental floss. And and everybody's got a different answer, but if I went and get dental floss, they'd tell me to get a toothpick. You got to not listen. Again, I would point back, listen to your Lord, listen to your wife, listen to your family, and God gave you a conscience that you are responsible to yourself. And so if you satisfy those people, who gives a rip what the rest of them say? Those cheap seats are loud, but they ain't very much fun.
That's so true. That's so true. Do it anyway, y'all.
Yeah.
And he's right. There's going to be critics in everything you do, whether it be young, older gentlemen, wiser, it doesn't matter. You're going to find critics anyway. I think of the Dave Ramsey quote. He always says, no one ever erected a statue to a critic. Yeah. So go do
it. Even when we started our telecom business, we started Legacy Telecommunications. It was incredibly successful, blessed beyond anything we deserved. But when we started it, I called my mom. She's like, don't you think they got enough of those cell phone thingies? And this was in 1999, 2000. And she was wanting the best for her kid and wanting the best for her grandkid. But fear was in her mind about, well, you might just be not knowing what you're. Of course, we didn't know what we were getting into. If we knew what we were getting into, we probably never would have started it. But you know what? Never would have got where we got either.
That's true.
Yeah. And she wasn't trying to be critical. She was looking out for us, but in her own way, that was one of those negative influences that, yeah, maybe they're there for a reason, but I'm glad I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, she was just being a parent. No love.
Being a mom.
Yeah, being a mom. No love lost for sure.
Right.
But yeah, but in order to press forward, sometimes we have to go out and pioneer. We got to do something that's never been done before. And so mom had never seen it, experienced it. And so, but her son is a pioneer and he tried it and it was hugely successful. So shout out to mom and everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for your criticism.
Yeah. My mom also, she didn't want me to fly at first either. But then my dad went on a trip and he went kind of home from their place in Arizona on a trip, and he got sick while he was there, and she needed instant transportation from Phoenix, Arizona up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And who showed up with an airplane and took her on the ride? Well, yeah. And I'll tell you, it was a funny story though, because this was a non-pressurized aircraft. And so we're flying between mountains in Colorado. And I look over and my mom's rolling through that rosary so fast, there's sparks flying off that bead. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, Lord, I'm praying.
Saying every prayer in between those rosary beads. But
there's a mom for you.
It's all love. And there's her son who came through when dad needed transportation. So look at it, worked out. It balanced out. The math worked out. Bingo. This is incredible. We have to go to a quick commercial break because speaking of love and family, we got to support our podcast family, our supporters, our loyal supporters of the show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey guys, this is your boy Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And we are here in Patrick Henry Mall, Newport News, Virginia. We're actually here for something unique just inside. Something new, brand new that we want to explore together. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Hey, boss. Heard you are an athlete, man. See you at the mall every day. We are
Yeah.
at Patrick Henry Mall, living up, and we are talking about CBD.
Yeah.
But first off, the normal thing that we all deal with is joint pain, back pain, suffer from everything.
Neck pain too.
Neck pain?
Yep.
You got some neck pain?
All the time, man. I'm getting up in age, you know what I'm saying? We're not young no more.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Bruh, CBD helps with that exact same thing. Neck pain, back pain, joint pain, all the pains, everywhere pain, right? And so that's what CBD does. That's what we're here to help you and me do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
CBD is one of the most powerful cannabinoids because all it's focused on is the health and wellness. We're talking helping people with anxiety, depression, insomnia, sleep deprivation, all provided. CBD works with the natural mechanics of your body without the crazy side effects of Western medicine. So these products are here to actually align your body and get it back right so we can actually have a better quality of life. And that's what CBD does.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENTSTYLE at manscaped.com.
We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and today we have the incredible, the super fragilistic, espialidocious, Grand Poobah, Grampian, Jim Tracy here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. He has shared life experiences, business experiences, jet pilot experiences early on in the show, family life, and how he balanced it, how he entered the trades industry at a young age and started his entrepreneurial endeavors in the trades, and moved further on into his successful predominant career in public speaking and other business ventures. He sold numerous companies, bought numerous businesses, helped businesses, and now he's helping give back to the world and to society today. If you miss any of that, go back, scroll back, and check him out. We are on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Ghana Radio, radio.com, LinkedIn, Facebook business page, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. He is here on the Gentleman Style Podcast, sharing today Mr. Incredible Jim Tracy, my hero. So I want to touch on your nonprofit work. You have had the honor of working in nonprofits, working on nonprofits, and everything in between, and doing good for the world. What inspired you to get involved in nonprofits?
Great question. When we first started Legacy Telecom, the first check we cut was go to a trade association and learn about the business that we were going to be part of. And as I did that, I got engaged in the National Association of Tower Erectors to help other people learn how to do what we did safely. That led to me being involved in the leadership of that organization. And as I became involved in the leadership, I was elected by my peers as the chairman of that organization. You hear a lot when you're at the leadership level of any trade organization, you hear and you see a lot. And one of the things that we saw was a business owner came to us and said, "Hey, we had a fatality, and my attorney says we can't help the family because that would be some sort of an admission of guilt." So I kind of think we started one of the early GoFundMes for this family because the lawyers told the business owner that he couldn't take care of his people. And so we kind of jumped in and tried to take care of them. And then another company from California said, "That's a really good idea. And I've been thinking about that a long time, and I'd like to put some money into it." And so we started the Tower Family Foundation. And our job and our role is to, when an accident happens on a tower site, sometimes it's a fall from elevation. and the outcome is generally always very bad. And there's a family that's left there, and between the time when the incident happens and when the system kicks in to help them, can be very, very troubling. They're dealing with travel and medical or funeral costs, or they're the most vulnerable, and it's the worst time in their life. And so we step in and we give the largest tax-free gift that can be given under IRS code, so they don't need a tax lawyer after it's over, but we do it within 7 days. So when you're talking about helping, we cut them, like today, we cut them a check that covers rent, groceries, travel, funeral expenses, takes care of kids' tuition sometimes, and we take care of the people within the family of our industry. And that led to another one called the National Wireless Safety Alliance, where we gave people credentials, and that is just another great work that we've been a part of. The third one that I'm so proud of on the work side of things is called TATE. It's Telecommunications Against Trafficking and Exploitation. We teach our workers out in the field to recognize the signs of human trafficking. And we do that so that they can recognize those signs and then notify the appropriate authorities that something ain't right. And there is so much going on, and it happens in literally every little city, burg, village, everywhere in America, this is taking place. And the way that we can best fight it is with light and information. And if you recognize and then notify the signs that you see of human trafficking, it can happen at convenience stores, gas stations, truck stops, hotels, airports, all the places that our people work is where it happens. And so our responsibility is to help those people get trained. And that's what we do. And we do it at no cost.
That's powerful, at no cost. Can you share some signs for the audience? Just a couple, one or two signs, what to look for.
Well, I mean, the obvious ones are if you see a young lady who's inappropriately dressed for the weather with more than one cell phone, or a young lady who is accompanied, or more than one lady who's accompanied by a person who doesn't look like the right age, especially when you combine the experience. And we had a couple of things where this fellow walked into a convenience store and noticed that there was a mattress in the storeroom, and a person was like washing, like bathing out of the sink.
Oh my God.
And as it turned out, there were family members that were being kind of held hostage, and they were being held hostage because they did not speak the language, because they did not, and it was a place where this was actually forced labor happening. There were two men taking care of their families by not letting them be deported, by working literally 2 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day. They were manning this convenience store. And we've heard the same thing about some restaurants that are ethnic in nature. We've heard the same things about the place where the ladies get her fingernails done. And there's all kinds of examples in America where people are being abused. And that's what we have to fight. We have to fight the places where people cannot live in dignity. And so that's what we're doing.
That's powerful. So several nonprofits, big heart. I told y'all from the very beginning, big, massive heart, giving back and helping people across multiple platforms. How do you measure your impact? Is it by a number of how many people you've helped, whether it be the telecom nonprofit or the human trafficking nonprofit? How do you measure success across your various nonprofits that you support and give back and donate?
The first thing would be if I looked at the Tower Family Foundation, 97 cents out of every dollar go to the families. The rest is spent.
Sorry, that was too good. I had to.
That's sweet. No, I mean it's something that we get volunteers, inspire volunteers to help, and that helps us do the right thing. But 97 cents on the dollar go to families, and the other 3 cents go to things like websites so we can get our message out, Federal Express so we can get the money to the families quickly, and FedEx because, and accountants because we have to tell people that we do our books right. So anyway, so we measure that by how much good we do and how effective we are as stewards. The telecom against the National Wireless Safety Alliance is how many people we train and give dignity to have their own portable credential out in the workforce. And then the third one, the Tate initiative is really, really big on my heart right now. Trafficking and exploitation are a huge problem in our country. We now have trained someone in every state in the United States, but we need to be 1,000 or 2,000, or in the case of California, 50,000 people. And if you want the website, go to www.3sgf.org. It's 3sgf.org. That's the Three Strands Global Foundation. And they'll dig through there a little bit and you'll find Tate. I don't care if you're in the telecom industry. If you go on there, there's a free half-hour training. And if you take it and you'll put the National Human Trafficking Hotline in your phone, you'll always then know what to do.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Sir, this is advice for the upcoming entrepreneur who has his heart set on philanthropy and wants to give back in your model. What would advice be you would give to that the unsuspecting advice, right? That people think I'll start a nonprofit, it'll be easy day. That is clearly not the case, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
What's your advice to that person wanting to get involved? What's a challenge that people don't typically expect in running a nonprofit organization that you can help them with?
I'm working with a fellow right now, and he saw what we did at the Tower Family Foundation. He wants to do the same thing in renewable energy. And so I'm really thrilled that he saw something, and then the need that he saw in his industry inspired him to take action. And it's got to come from your, I don't want to say your heart, it's got to come from your gut, because your gut, if your gut gets sour about something you see, then you might be motivated enough to make that long haul push. And that long haul push always first involves, a lot of people would say, hey, give money. Money's the easy part, man. Give your time, and then make sure that you have the ability and, frankly, the charisma to encourage others to share your vision. And then surround yourself with people who are smarter and energized and rich. And they don't have to be rich with money. They have to be rich with passion and time. And they need to be dedicated toward a cause where you unite people. It's kind of like, if you look at what we do in telecom, everybody says, well, what kind of people do you recruit to climb towers? And everybody's afraid of heights. And
I am.
Well, yeah, but not everybody is. But if you look at what we do, we have really intense people who do high pressure jobs at high risk, small teams, and compressed time frames. And it's just kind of high pressure. Well, those are places where special forces operators do really well. And so in the telecom space, that works really well. But also, if you look at the nonprofit space, that same passion. So what are you passionate about, Marcus? What thing is it in America that says, hey, man, I want to do something because something bugs me?
I am passionate in this phase of my life is giving back, and it's in the mental health space.
Okay. So there is a place where you can drill down into that niche and say, and I'm just going to say, I'm going to go, there's no niche that is so deep that you shouldn't keep digging. So if you want to do podcasters of color who've had military experiences that are unfortunate and need help, you drill down, man, you will find people that need help, and you can do that. and it takes. I had a British fellow who told me once. He said, "I'd rather have an ounce of passion than a pound of polish."
Mm-hmm. That's a good
And
one.
and what he meant by that is you got to want it bad. And if you want it bad enough, then you can drill down and you can help somebody.
You're right. You're so right. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna use that to further continue to dig. Just in the in we just I just my partner and I just bought a mental health practice.
Okay.
And so we opened in January this year. And so just in a little bit that I've learned, because she's clinical, I'm not. I'm just straight business. And so she's the brains of the operation. And I just keep everything in line as far as
Yeah.
business growth and operations, budgets, marketing, advertising, keep that mechanism going, right?
Right.
And in the little bit that I've learned just from January till today is so much deeper, and it's so many people that need help, and people are dealing with and facing some absolute monsters, and the biggest monster is the monster of the mind. That self-talk is really, the brain is a powerful vehicle, and it's a powerful thing, but it has that power to influence everything around us and how we perceive life.
Yeah.
And the mind is such a the most important muscle of all.
Yeah.
And again, from January to now, I've learned so much, and it keeps getting deeper. Like you said, it keeps getting deeper, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a need here, and oh my gosh. And the business, what's happening now, just in 3 months, the business is now evolving, and we're now in a phase of where we're hiring people to fill the voids that we keep finding in this pit. And so
Yeah.
we started off with just, okay, we're going to do this type of therapy. And now it's evolving in, hey, we need to do group, because there's a mass ton of people that need this all at once at the same time. And now it's like, well, oh, people need medication. So now
Yeah.
we need to help people with get their hands on the medication, because the therapists and the psychiatrists in our area are filled, and they have a huge wait list, and they need to
Mhm.
take some of these clients off and those phone calls are scary. People
Yeah.
are it's scary what people are facing. And so there's a medication, a prescription, with the right heart, with the right mentorship, with the right leaders to help people. And so now the business is now evolving into what society needs as we dig into the mental health space. So I think that's what you're referring to, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit. And not only that, there's things that come into play. I heard a guy who was he's a clinical psychologist. And I was struggling a bit. My son came back from Afghanistan. And he had a very traumatic time over there. And one of the things that helped me understand that was a fellow who said, they named it PTSD, and it should be PTS, because it would be a disorder if seeing what you saw and hearing what you heard and smelling what you smelled didn't upset you. So it's a traumatic stress. If it didn't upset you, that would be a disorder. That it upsets you is not a disorder. You've got to take the 4.5 inches that God put between your temples and say, I want to try to take every thought captive and then process it in a way doesn't make me a weirdo. I mean, if you're kind of freaking out from something that happened in the service, you're not weird, man. You're actually the normal one, the one who it impacted in such a dramatic way. It shows the size of your heart, and we just got to make sure your brain can take those thoughts captive, so you don't become one of the statistics.
Yeah, and process it in an effective way. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. The disorder is you not reacting to something traumatic. You're right.
Yeah. Well, he was right. I just learned from smart people, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
what we need to do. We need to surround ourselves with powerful individuals. My partner and I, in this phase of our life, we're really working hard to surround ourselves with quality people,
Right on.
quality individuals, because you know, my math teacher back in high school said, hey, the friends you make in high school and lower don't matter. You're very few people maintain those relationships. It's the friends you meet in college and up is what
Yeah.
matters. So make sure you choose wisely.
Yeah.
So
So
huge, huge, huge. What's your
Incredibly important choice.
very important choice? Is one of the bigger choices that we need to make. I, I want to ask this question, and this is selfish of me because you have merged the two successfully, business and philanthropy. I want to ask, what's your take on the overlap between business and philanthropy? How do you manage that merger? Because in I can imagine that there's a little conflict there, or a mind shift there, maybe not conflict, but mind shift that needs to happen because you're going from a business that's for profit and going to, hey, we may not ever make any of this money back, but it's
Yeah.
still worth it, right? So how do you handle that overlap?
Wow, that's a great question. I didn't really allow an overlap, and I don't want that to sound like I have this like, Jedi mind trick or something. I I I saw what we were supposed to do and I did it. And the business supported that because I put great people in charge. When we first started Legacy, we had two people and it turned into three and it turned into one crew. And then it turned into two crews. And then it turned into three crews. And I was like, wow, I have to like let go of something so that we can continue to scale and grow. And so and part of it is I'm kind of genuinely a lazy person. and when I can get people to really do with excellence the stuff that I don't want to do anyway. One of the keys to our growing a construction business that did, wireless infrastructure construction, which is fairly technical. One of the things that I did is I said, I'm really good at making money by bidding this stuff, but I can only bid so much, and I've got something else tugging at my cape over here. So I'm going to actually give that to somebody else. And I'm not going to hope they do it right. I'm going to monitor it for a little while and make sure that we're getting the results we want. And at some point, and it didn't take very long, I'm like, wow, he's better at that than I am. That's awesome. I don't ever have to do that anymore. And then I said, instead of like, I don't want to see every, $5,000 bid anymore. I want to see every 10,000. And then it turned into 50,000. Then it's like, I was like, they were like killing it. And I'm like, okay, if it's going to be over $1 million, I want to know about it. And then pretty soon I didn't even check that. I was just watching job costing, and I had places where I looked and checked and monitored, but I didn't actually have to do the work. And so when you grow and scale a business, you do it in such a way that and it's not about freeing me, it's about freeing the people who come alongside you. I never had anybody that I thought I wanted to work for me. I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to make sure that they were free to pursue the excellent standard that we agreed together that we set.
I love that. I want to get you out of here on this one, sir. What do you have next? What's in store? What's the plan?
Wow.
What's the next either philanthropic adventure or what's the next business venture? Because now you're here to create impact and make a difference. You're in that phase of your legacy. So what's next?
Well, number one, I want to continue to be a great man of faith, or I want to try and be a great man of faith. I want to try and be a great husband. I want to try and be a great dad. And I want to really try hard to be a great grandpa. And so in order to do that, I'm going to try to stay physically capable. But on top of that, when I look at business, I want about 50% of what I do to be speaking. I've actually got my third book done. They don't want them that fast, but I'm so excited for that to come. I literally wrote to my grandchildren about the people who impacted me along the way. And so that's what that first book is about. It's really other people are going to benefit, I hope, but it's really for my grandkids. And so if I die tomorrow, they can get to know me. And that's really cool. I love the podcast gig because like you, man, it is just, I'm a wick. I just want to grab all this stuff from these smart people and just like tuck it behind my ear so I can keep it and ponder it and then use it for good. I'm working on a master class right now that's business based, and I'm super excited about that. I want to fly fighter jets. But also, I want to really embrace, we're working in the Pacific Northwest. It's always been a corner of the world that has had a need for mercy flights. And so there's an organization called Pilots for Christ. And we're organizing this spring to put together different wings. So if you got a baby, it needs got cancer, and they need a flight because they can't have germs. So we're going to form the Northwest chapter of Pilots for Christ, and we're going to fly people who are desperate and vulnerable and needy. And so, and hopefully I can get someone to take over the administrative side so I can do the flying side. That would be
that's the
even
goal.
cooler. Yeah. So I don't see any slowing down. I'm speaking, got the books coming out, I'm working on the project for masterclass, podcast. I read a weekly blog. That's so fun because here again, now that's like now it's 70 different letters to my grandkids. That, I mean, I got two babies in the womb. If I died today, they could actually read 70 letters.
Yes,
and get to know me. And then obviously I'm going to continue to try and work out and stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is why they call him the Grampian, y'all. So he's reminding me of my grandpa. My grandpa owned a plane, and he also built the house that my grandma lived in, even after he passed, and is still erect today. He built the house himself. So he did the blueprints. He did the electrical work. He hired the Caterpillar, and he bought all the wood, the material, the cement, everything. And he built the house that still stands today for his wife and his family. It is a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom house. Incredible with attic. He did the whole thing himself, and he owned the plane. But what was missing is that memoir, that piece of grandpa, because I don't know what inspired from everything that the family tells me that's still alive today. They give me bits and pieces, but I never had the book, the memoir, to find out what was in grandpa's head. What inspired him to buy a plane? What inspired him to learn how to do electrical work and plumbing work and cement and Caterpillar work? He owned goats. What inspired grandpa to own goats, right? And so all these incredible things that are happening in here, and there's no peace. There's nothing to fill those blanks. So keep up the great work, Mr. Tracy. Your grandkids are going to need that.
All right. And start journaling. If you're listening today and you want to write, or you don't even think you have anything to write, just start making notes, because when you get to my age, you get a little forgetful and you have to ask people what happened, and they'll help you. But it's better off if you start journaling right now, just to keep a little piece of today for your grandkids tomorrow.
Absolutely. This has been an epic show. Oh my gosh. Sir, I want to say thank you so much for spending time giving back. I contribute all of this to giving back. Thank you for making time for us, my audience, our audience, to learn from you and to support us and help us see into the future and make a difference in the future. Because it's not about us anymore. It's about tomorrow. So,
Marcus,
sir,
thank you.
Absolutely.
We're learning together.
We are. We absolutely are. Sir, you've shared so many nuggets this episode. If you have one more trick in the hat, one more tip, one more nugget, you've shared so many nuggets, but if you have one more golden nugget for that young man, that young girl who's scared, the world is crazy, life is crazy, they're dealing with some crazy things, they don't have access to electricity, they don't have access, they're witnessing human trafficking before their eyes, what would you say to that young boy, that young girl whose back is against the wall and they don't know what to do this very second? What would you say to them right now?
Don't succumb to fear. Attack it. Attack it. There's something called counterphobic. That you take something. If you're afraid of flying, go flying. If you're afraid of not being fed, go find some food. attack it. Don't stop. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Fight that 4.5 inches of I cannot. You can. You can do it.
Absolutely. And how can people connect with you? How can people learn more? How can we join this? Get on the plane. The plane has already left, right? And you're not stopping for nothing. But how can people connect with you and learn more?
All right. The best way is if you want to go on a podcast, it's The Grampian on YouTube, any of the other platforms. My website is thejimtracy.com.
Absolutely. Connect, y'all. The Grampian is on the march and he's not slowing down. Like we end every show. Take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible Jim Tracy signing off. We love you guys. Bye.
Thanks, man.